After betrayal and infidelity, a lot of people get stuck in the what if trap. They feel paralyzed, just unable to make any decision because they're constantly wondering, well, what if this could turn out better if I stay? Or what if I leave and regret it? What if they really do turn it around this time? What if this is my one chance for freedom? You feel stuck in your mind, replaying endless alternate scenarios. There's an obsessive component to it. What if I had done something different in the past? What if they hadn't cheated? What if we had just talked about this sooner? What if I had been to therapy? What if they'd been to therapy? And there's a lot of guilt, shame, and embarrassment over things that you ultimately have no control over. The reason why this happens, the reason why you get trapped in a bunch of what if thinking, is usually because you think you need a complete black and white decision right now of what everything meant and what you're going to do. And it's like you think you can ask a million questions and those questions will build up to this one moment of perfect clarity. And from that moment of perfect clarity, you can then act. But that is a trap. This loop stems from a lack of self-trust, which got eroded through their betrayal, and oftentimes just a lack of comfort with the idea that you can't control someone else's actions. And so what often happens, you're trying to comprehend the incomprehensible. You're searching for patterns for something that is ultimately meaningless. You're trying to solve a puzzle that doesn't have all the pieces. And your brain is convincing you that it's being productive, but worrying is not the same as problem solving. The truth, and it can be painful to hear, but it's also an ultimate relief, is that you don't need to decide everything today. Oftentimes, the healthier path is to make a decision one way or the other, start moving that direction, and know that you can adjust and pivot en route. A large part of what you're going to be looking for is what your partner does in response, as well as how it feels to you in your body, in your soul, in your spirit. You need more data, both emotional, logical, and behavioral. Because right now, you're trying to make a decision based off of limited data, and so you're conceptualizing everything, running it over a million different ways in your head based off a very small pool of information. You need more information, sometimes from the past, but especially from the present, how they're treating you now, how you are feeling now. Clarity doesn't strike like lightning most of the time. It usually comes from moving in a direction and gauging their behavior and your emotions. And oftentimes people will feel conflicted because they feel like they're hearing one thing and then hearing another and seeing one thing and then seeing another. I'd be willing to bet that the majority of the time, your partner's actions are actually pretty clear. It's their words that confuse you. Either because they are being very kind and loving and working to rebuild things, but the way they're articulating their emotions don't make sense. Or more often, they're claiming that they want to work on things, but their actions show that they have no interest in actually helping you recover. So to break out of this never-ending what-ifs and lack of decision-making, you need to first focus on the concrete and the real. You won't find closure from a bunch of what-if scenarios. It doesn't come from imagining a different past. You have to accept the present reality. Shift your focus from what you wish would have happened to what has happened. Second, just start to admit that you're looping, because the biggest problem with all this is that the questions feel so real and so pressing and so urgent to you. So if you can start to catch yourself, it can take away a lot of its power. Third, use the data approach. Instead of spiraling, look for evidence. If you're wondering if they can change as a human being, look at their behavior today. Have they changed since the day of discovery? Not their promises, their behavior today. Not what they say they'll do next week or what they promise to try to start doing, what they've done. Fourth, redirect your focus. One of the most powerful things you can do is, instead of creating endless what-if scenarios that are outside of your control, start creating a future that you actually want, one tiny concrete step at a time. Most likely, you are not in control of building the relationship life that you want right now. But what about when it comes to being the kind of parent that you want to be, or a hobby that you've been meaning to pick up, or your career? Those are things that you can build. They're concrete, and they're ways for you to redirect your focus. And what if thinking is positive? Start asking what ifs like, what if I focus my energy on my job? What if I focused this energy into developing deeper friendships with my current friends or making new friends? Try to get your mind looping around something you have some control over. And this isn't just about forgetting, it's not about pushing something down or pushing it aside. Part of this is just how you get your nervous system to settle by getting that energy directed towards something that it has some control over. And then be patient with yourself as you start to implement some of this. Healing doesn't require perfect thought control. The main thing that you're aiming for is when the thoughts start to feel lighter and like something that you can either dive into, or just let go of. And that requires practice, patience, and self-compassion for when you mess up. But the biggest thing is give yourself the time and space to just collect more data, figure out what's actually going on, not what could have been different in the past, what's happening right now, and based off that information, then making a decision. And the more that you focus on things that are actually in your control, those loops won't feel as confining and tightening, and you'll get some of your freedom back.